Rahyra is the name. I'm here today to make a little Enhancement Shaman guide for you guys who are interested in making an enhancement or playing Enhancement Shaman, as to say. This is going to be a nice, easy level guide so you can go away from this guide feeling less overwhelmed about the enhancement spec. Hopefully that's the plan. This should just give you the insight you need to start playing with your shaman and just overall be a bit more confident with how to play it, just so you can have a bit more fun with it, because it is such a fun spec to play. So I'm just going to first quickly go over the spec itself, just in case you may have already spec'd enhancement and you are just wondering how to actually play it properly, or you just have no idea how to play it, or no idea what one is. So this is essentially what an Enhancement Shaman is. It is a melee, agility, totem-based weapon, elemental, naturey, zappy class, which is very cooldown orientated. Now that cooldowns is a little section further in, so just to give you a little example. These 4 spells here are quite paramount to the enhancement regime: Storm Strike, Lava Lash, Maelstrom Weapon, and Feral Spirit. Feral Spirit is one of your cooldowns. Storm Strike and Lava Lash are one of your 2 fundamental rotation spells. And Maelstrom Weapon is a passive which procs quite regularly from auto attacks, but again, that will be coming into. So, without further ado, let's start going into the nitty-gritty of the enhancement. So first off, back in the day you had these things called weapon imbues. You had Flame Tongue Weapon, you had Wind Fury Weapon, which you do on your main and offhand just to make you do a bit more damage, to give you more attack speed, but now you just have this. You have your enhanced weapons. So essentially, paraphrasing the tooltip, your main hand will deal extra damage and your offhand will deal even more fire damage. That's just the passive. But you have this spell, which I'll get to in the rotation, called Unleash Elements, which just a whole different kettle of fish. Next up you have your Lightning Shield. This is a very shaman-y spell. It surrounds you in lightningness and allows you to reflect some damage or deal some damage when you're struck, and also can help you survive a bit longer with the Glyph, which will come down further down the line. Now the stats for Shaman are that's quite a controversial topic. People say haste, people say mastery, but essentially what I go for is haste to 50%. Now you may wonder why 50%, because of this flurry. This was changed in 6.0, so haste lowers your global cooldown and your cooldowns on your main rotation abilities. So if you have haste to 50%, your global cooldown is down to a 1 second global cooldown, so it's a nice and fast paced rotation. After haste you want to go for something like multi-strike. Of course, at the time of making this guide there isn't much gear that have multi-strike, but that is your second base stat. And then you've got your mastery and crit, which at the moment aren't really that different. I suppose you can argue mastery is ahead of crit. What the mastery does for enhancement shamans, it just increases your elemental damage, your nature damage. That's it. So it can scale quite nicely. And now, here is the rotation. Oh my god, there's so many spells. Don't worry, I'm going to break it down for you one bit at a time. So first off, we have at the very top is Searing Totem. This is just a little totem you can put down and it will just fire at the target. You don't have to worry about it. Next off you got your Unleash Elements. This is related to the enhanced weapons I was talking about earlier on. When you pop this you get a good amount of debuffs. You get 2 buffs on yourself. One increases fire damage and one increases attack speed. Very nice. You want to keep that on cooldown as much as possible. After Unleash Elements, you have your Lightning Bolt, which you can see I've accompanied with Maelstrom Weapon, because you only really want to fire Lightning Bolt off when you have 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon. It's quite nice, easy to see. After this I'm going to do a little bit of a demo for you, and you'll be able to see how easy it is to track it, and you'll be laughing essentially. So, if your Searing Totem's on cooldown, your Unleash Elements on cooldown, you haven't got 5 stacks of Maelstrom weapon for your Lightning Bolt, you then you want to keep Flame Shock on the target. Now Flame Shock should only be applied with Unleash Flame, which, as you can see, it's the Flame Tongue weapon enchantment, which you get from using Unleash Elements. This will all become clear once I show you. Once you've got your Flame Shock on the target, you've got that ticking, everything else is done with, you can then pop yourself a Storm Strike. Nice ability which applies a debuff, which gives you 25% extra crit chance against the target. You got your Lava Lash, your big nice nukey thing, and then finally you got your Frost Shock, which is a very nice filler ability, and with a Glyph, which I'll talk about later, means that you won't really have to worry about any other fillers. So what I'll do now, just very quickly, I'll just give you a quick overview of the breakdown. So I'll just enable my WoW window here. Here I am, hello. So let's just give you a little demo. So first off, you can put down your Searing Totem. You see a Searing Totem firing at the target. I'm just going to attack, so the Searing Totem knows what I'm firing at. Or not, it's just going to be there. But essentially, when you're attacking, your Searing Totem will be attacking the target. Okay, so let's go back to our priority list for a sec. We can see Searing Totem is our first thing. After that, Unleash Elements. Okay, let's go from there. So we have our Searing Totem down, pop Unleash Elements, and you can see here now we have 2 buffs. We've got our fire damage and our attack speed. Of course, we're a melee class, so we want to be in melee range, getting as much use from the attack speed as possible, essentially. So, after our Unleash Elements, we've got our Lightning Bolt with 5 stacks. Now what I'll do quickly, I'll just force myself to get 5 stacks. Just going to cast some spells. There you go. So you can see I've got this little graphic here, which is pulsing, and you can see I've got 5 stacks. So now I'll just fire off, and you can see the actual light is actually lit up as well. So I can now just, boom, fire off my Lightning Bolt. That is your Lightning Bolt. Next off, you have your Flame Shock. Now, Flame Shock is very nicely paired with Unleash Elements. So what I'll do here, pressure Unleash Elements, you see I've got this buff, and now I'm going to Flame Shock the target. Now the buff is gone. I now have a nice ticking Flame Shock on the target. I've got a little track here just so you can see it. So, essentially, that's that part of the rotation. And then you have your Storm Strike, which puts the debuff on the target, and then you have your Lava Lash. So, what I'll do now, I'll just reset on my damage or whatever. In fact, I won't need to do that. Wait for that to fall off. Okay, now I'm going to just do a quick demonstration of the rotation. So, Searing Totem, Unleash Elements, Flame Shock on the target, Storm Strike until cooldown, Lightning Bolt, because that's procced, Lava Lash, Frost Shock, Storm Strike's back up, fire that on, Lightning Bolt's procced, Storm Strike, Lava Lash again, because that procced, that'll come to that, Storm Strike, Lightning Bolt, that, Storm Strike, Lava Lash, Unleash Elements, I forgot about that. Put your Flame Shock up, keep your Flame Shock up. So it's essentially revolving around Frost Shock, Lightning Bolt, Storm Strike, Lava Lash, and Unleashed Elements. That is the rotation, essentially. With practice, you can become really nicely acquainted with how to use it. Now, if you're wondering about what I have here, these bars here, these are just a bit of graphical representation just to help me so I don't have to keep looking down at my bars here. I could just, if I need to, just look at my target right next to my character. These is called totem timers. You can get it from curse.com, you can get it using your curse client, or I'm sure other add-on websites are available, but it's called totem timers, all one word. Okay, just a little brief overview there. I shall now move on to what is probably one of the more interesting aspects of enhancement. It is the cooldown section. Now, cooldowns are very handy for enhancement. Like I say, they do a lot of the damage. A lot of the damage. First off, one of the biggest cooldowns we have, arguably the biggest, is Fire Elemental. You either use this instead of Searing Totem if you're on the pull, or if it's on cooldown. You want to be using this on cooldown. Yeah, it's a 5-minute cooldown, unless you have trinkets that lower the cooldown, or if you glyph it, which I'll come to. But he hits like a truck, essentially, so you want to have him on the boss or on your target at all times. Next up is more recently added, or more recently buffed cooldown, Feral Spirits. These guys didn't used to do that much, but they've now buffed the attack significantly by 100%. So these are now a considerable DPS cooldown that you can use on time. And then of course, we have Ascendants, all shamans are known for. Of course, just a little disclaimer here, I'm obviously not the best at, in fact, as you can tell, I have amazing paint skills, so let's just go with that. So Ascendants turns you into something for 15 seconds, depending on your spec. Now, of course, we are rocking Enhancement, so we are an Air Elemental. We can use our auto attacks from range, and our Storm Strike becomes Wind Strike. Now, it doesn't really do much, but you can actually weave in an extra Storm Strike in your opener, which I'll demonstrate for you. And of course, you have your biggest cooldown, in fact, arguably the biggest cooldown in the game, Bloodlust, but I don't need to go into detail about that. That's a fairly useful one to go for. So, just quickly, I'll go for the cooldown rotation. Your opener, even, I should say. So, for this opener, I am going to talk you through as I do it. It's going to involve Storm Striking, popping Ascendants, and Storm Striking again, because Storm Strike will be on cooldown. Then Ascendants will be popped, and then it will reset the cooldown of Storm Strike, or which would now be called Wind Strike. Apart from that little tweak there, your rotation is the same, as well as sort of preparing. So you pop your wolves, your feral wolves, and your elemental on the pull. So I'm just going to quickly do a 10-second pulse timer. So this is how you work. So at about 3 seconds, 5, or just whatever, get 4, near the boss. 3, 2, pop your wolves, 1. Pop your elemental, and the bloodlust as well, just because. Then we attack. Storm Strike on cooldown. Ascendants. Now we got Wind Strike. Get your Flame Shock up. Lightning Bolt. Lava Lash. Wind Strike. Lightning Bolt. Frost Strike. Unleash Elements. Wind Strike. Lightning Bolt. Lava Lash. So as you can see, we're doing a nice amount of damage here. You just need to keep your rotation going all the time. Don't worry, it'll all come naturally. Of course, things are very quick at the moment, so like I said, I wouldn't worry too much about having everything so optimal at the moment. It's just a gist of, you know, what you can do. Okay, so let's just leave that there for a second. I don't want to be here all day. Now, if we look on our recount, our SCADA, you can see here that Primal Elementalist does a considerable amount of our damage. In fact, you can see in second place is our other cooldown, Feral Wolves. And then you got your empowered Flame Shock. But as you can see, your cooldowns are very important for enhancement. So just a little quick overview there. Next up, I'm just gonna quickly run through some of the talents you can have. So this is actually just a screenshot of what I'm rocking at the moment. So for level 15, I am currently rocking Astral Shift. 40% reduction, nice and easy. 6 seconds, that's a little cooldown. Next, I am rocking Earth Grab Totem, which it doesn't really matter. The level 30 talents for PvE are not actually that great. I just choose it because, well, it could be nice to route ads or whatever just to help your tank pick them up, just some control going. Now, Totemic Protection. I shall demonstrate this one for you quickly, because I really failed on cutting out the tooltip. So, just quickly here, I'll just show you here in game. I'll paste down my totems. Let's place another one, and let's place another one. So I've got 3 totems down. What's going to happen for totem protection? Let's say I'm running out way over here. I need to run over here to another target. But of course my totem's not out of range. If I use totemic protection, I can then move my totems to a better location. This is especially good with sort of healing totems, or if you just want to move from A to B and you don't want your totems to despawn and you want to keep them close. That's a very nice talent to choose. So next talent I normally go for, this is what I got, is a fairly, you could say, major effect to the enhancement. Echo the Elements. I made this quite large because it is a very fundamental talent for our rotation. Just plain and simply, your Lava Lash and Storm Strike have a chance to not incur a cooldown, or your spell and abilities I should say. Now, this has a very nice graphic, so once again let me just take you back to this video, to this gameplay. I'm just going to attack a target here until it procs, and that was quick, it procced already. So you have these 2 funny looking graphics here, and you also have a buff here. So if I just fire off a Lava Lash, you can see that's fired off, but you've still got Lava Lash here, so I can fire it off again. This can lead to some very fun circumstances where you can double hit with your spells, essentially, making them for really mean bursts, really powerful. And it just makes the enhancement rotation just a bit more fun. Your next talent of choice that I've chosen is a healing talent, but this is more of a last resort talent because this used to be a very good talent, but it's no longer that great. Ancestral Guidance, 20% healing essentially, nothing really major, but this is a very big talent at level 90. Primal Elementalist, 80% increased damage on your elemental. So that is the main reason why my elemental is hitting like a truck. If you didn't have this Primal Elementalist, your burst may not be as high, but you may have slightly higher sustained. So the damage you do will even out fairly nicely. So just a little overview there of my talents. Next up, my Glyphs. These are the 3 glyphs I'm currently rocking. You can take some other glyphs if you fancy it. I'll just put a couple more suggestions here in a sec, but I'll just go for the ones I got here. Glyph of Lightning Shield. Now you remember that Lightning Shield buff we had, that you keep up at all times, for an hour. Every time you take damage, you will now take less damage for 6 seconds. I say when you take damage, because that's when Lightning Shield triggers. So that's a very nice little survivability one there. I have Glyph of Frost Shock. Decreases the cooldown by 2 seconds. This means that I don't really have to worry about any other filler spells because Frost Shock will always be on cooldown and it just makes it a bit more fast paced. And once again, just another survivability cooldown, you've got your Glyph of Flame Shock, meaning the damage you deal from Flame Shock heals you for 45% of said damage. Now, you may think, well, 45% of a few hundred isn't that much, but it adds up quite nicely and is incredibly fun for soloing old content because your damage is scaled, your healing is scaled. So these are just a few I go with at this point of the expansion. This is the end of 6.0.2, so before Warlords of Draenor release. We have too much gear to work with, so it doesn't really matter too much of what glyph you take. Fights don't really last very long, but there are some more strategic ones you can take glyph-wise. And these could be just a couple of examples. Feral Spirit increases more healing, but the more strategic one you can take is your Glyph of Fire Elemental Totem. Reduces the cooldown on duration by 50%. So on fights where you say may only be able to cast it 2 times because of the 5-minute cooldown, you can then reduce that to 2.5 minutes and get potentially more uptime. So essentially, that is the gist of my talents. And I've got some other minor talents. I've got the Glyph of Flaming Serpent. So as you saw, my totems are more serpenty. That's just my glyph for that. I have a spectral talent. In fact, if I go back to my game here, I have a spectral talent here to make my spectral wolf. That's a little shiny spectral wolf. So that's a very nice thing to have right there. Then last but not least, I've got my spirit raptors. So which would be spirit wolves. My feral spirits are little raptors, which I personally, because I'm a troll, they look pretty cool to me. I think that is pretty much all for the basics of the Enhancement Shaman. So, without further ado, I shall bid you farewell. If I find these guys are helpful people, I shall make a bit more structured guide going into more details of each parts of the shaman. This is just a gist of the shaman and a little bit of an overview. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later.